there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another day of Kit Conspiracy. This week we are using the 49 and Market Spectrum Sherbet collection, and it's not our first go around with this collection. We both just had so much of it, and I've said this probably in every video, that we just want to keep using it and get it used up so we can move on. I think we both bought a ton of it because it's such a beautiful collection. We didn't want to run out, and I think by doing that we kind of ended up with more than we thought we would end up with. So I am starting out with this blue paper, and I don't know if it's the blueberry or blue raspberry. I don't know. There are three that are really blue, and so I'm starting out with this one, and I wanted to put that rub-on on it, the pink and orange, but over the blue it kind of gets a little washed out and lost, and so I am going to just kind of mute that blue by adding some white acrylic paint, and I'm just using Dylusion's white linen paint. And they don't sell it in this tub anymore. It is now in a squeeze bottle. So I like having these tubs like this because I can just dip into it and work like I am currently. But my white is kind of getting a little chunky. I've watered it down many times and stirred it up many times. But I suspect I'll have to reinvest in the squeeze bottle at some point because this one is getting a little bit thick, even though I keep watering it down. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be able to keep doing that. But anyway, I am kind of just fading out the blue in the middle, and when it's dry, you can't even tell. I mean, you can tell that it's faded out, but you can't even tell that I put paint on it. And I think that this paper really lends itself to that because it already has some lighter spots and some darker spots. So the highs and the lows kind of just blend right in, and I'm pretty happy with the way that it ends up looking. It looks really natural. So you could do this with a paintbrush by dry brushing it on as well, but I'm finding that this stippling it with the foam pad there worked really great, and I'm really happy with the results that I got because I could kind of keep tapping it off until it was really more on the dry side and do that around the edges so that it kind of blended really well. So I am using this pink and orange rub-on, and the main reason for that is the photos I am using are of the oldest girl that I take care of, and they are from when she was really much smaller and did swimming lessons. And so in the pictures, she's got a pink swimsuit, the instructor has a yellow towel, and so I think that the orange and the pink work really well. And then I decided I wanted to add a little bit more pink, so I am also adding this darker pink, which is closer to what her swimsuit has on it. But I wanted to make sure I had the orange included because not only does it just highlight the yellow in the towel, it just works so well with blue because they are complementary colors on the color wheel. So I knew it was going to work nicely as long as you could see it, and that's why I put the white in the background. So I'm pretty happy with the way that that's looking. I am going to use some paper glitz from from Picket Fence Studio, and I've had it for a while, so it is not as thin as it used to be, and it works much better through a stencil than when I first got it. When I first got it, it was a little bit on the soupy side, and it didn't work great through a stencil. It would always run underneath. And so I am pretty happy with the way this turned out, and I normally would use the Snowdrop White Paper Glaze, but I am out of it at the moment. So this works well, and it creates shimmery little fish. The fish stencil, I think, is from Echo Park. I will try to see if I can find a link for it and put the link down below for you, including the links to the other products that I am using today in case you are interested in those. So I have another pink rub-on. I'm going to bring some of that pink down to the bottom here. Probably should have done that before I added the fish, but I'm okay with it. It's going over the top of the fish, but what I do is I end up using a emery board, just a plain old cheap emery board from the grocery store or whatever, and I just kind of rub it over the top of those fish so that it rubs a little bit of the rub on off of the fish, and you can still see the shimmeriness of the fish. I'm not sure if shimmeriness is a word, but it is now. And now I am adding these diagonal striped pink ones to the layout, and I really like how that looks, just to bring in a little bit of something different. A little bit of stitching up at the top here too, and more of the diagonal stripe. This is me just rubbing the top of the rub-on off of those fish, and then here I'm going to add a little bit more of that pink stripe, and I really like how that looks. Gives it a little shelf for my photograph to sit on. So the large photo is her and her swimming instructor, her receiving her medal at the end of the season. The other two are of her in the water on her back, learning how to float and swim. And I am reserving a spot for a QR code because I have video of her swimming as well, and I want to include that so her parents can just put their phones right over the top of it and go to that QR code link and revisit a bunch of her swimming videos from when she was much smaller. I am also using an acrylic piece. This is an older piece from Colorcast Designs, and it says Happy Place Found. And the reason I chose to use that instead of something that was swimming related is she loves the water. She is like a little fish in the water, and she just really enjoys it. They swim quite often. They've got a pool, and what was one of the main reasons, of course, that she needed swim lessons is because they swim often. So it is really her happy place is when she can be out in the pool. So thought I'd go ahead and use that for my title. I'm using some those are glue dots. I was trying to remember if they were glue dots or zots because I use both interchangeably. Those ones are glue dots, and I'm just using those to hold the entire title down. And I'm going to go ahead and add back in the inside of the letters that go with the word place, which brings in some more of the orange because the C has a little bit of orange to it. And that was another reason I wanted to make sure that background had a little bit of orange, because I knew I would be using this title, and that way it kind of just keeps it tied in there. I'm going to go ahead and just adhere all those down, just using more glue dots just to make sure everything stays. I've also got the centers to the P, the A, and the E, and so I want to make sure those are held down nice and firm and don't pop off. Sometimes on these clear letters I will leave the backer on it so you can't see through, but in this case I didn't mind being able to see through because you can kind of see the little fishy behind the letter C. The A also brings in more orange. The C is a little more yellow, but it works great with the orange that I've got in the background because it's kind of a yellowy orange, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. I am just going to pile up a few things behind the photo here just to create a nice little cluster. I am going to use these little circular pieces, although the center of them kind of bothers me that you can see inside of them. So I will fill those with something because that's just something that bugs me. I see other people leave them open and I don't mind it on their layouts, but for whatever reason on my layout, it just never looks right. And I'm not sure why that is, but I think it's the intersecting lines of things behind them. So I will go ahead and fill those out. I was auditioning that frame on the right hand side there. I don't end up using it. I thought I might, but no, it just doesn't work. And so I'm just pulling out bits and pieces here, seeing what I like, what I think would be good on the layout. I do kind of like the way that circular element nestles into the indentation of the Y above the E of the title there. And the white little square next to the orange ticket above the title, that is my placeholder for a QR code. Now I did find in my rub-on pack these other rub-ons that have some text in them, and I'm going to use those to be the center of these circular bits. I like the way that looks. It looks finished to me, and I can also bring in more color and texture in other places. Now there's not actually a texture on those, but the black writing kind of feels textural. So that's what I mean by texture, bringing in more texture. So I'm going to go with that. I'm just cutting around the little circular bit there before I put it on this white piece of paper and do the rub on, and then I will cut around them again and glue them together. Now that I've got my little pieces backed, I'm going to go ahead and start placing them where I think I want them. I do want this blue one down at the bottom. I did attach it down here without any foam behind it. I will end up popping that up onto some foam, and my glue stays wet long enough for me to go ahead and do that, especially because it's on top of a rub-on. If it was just on top of the paper, I may not be able to pull that up because I did wait quite a while. But the glue kind of like settles right into the paper and really starts to adhere quickly. But with the rub-on underneath it, I've got a little bit more time before I have to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and pop them up and then stick them down, and that makes me a lot more happy. I really like how they look with a little more dimension, given that the title has more dimension to it because it is acrylic. Now that butterfly that is in front of the letter P there, it's not going to stay there. I did like the way that it looks there, and I like that it brought in some color, but there's nothing else there, and I didn't really feel like I wanted to add another embellishment cluster since I've got this one down at the bottom. I didn't really need it right in front of that P there, so it's not going to stay there. I am going to work on this little one at the bottom. I started to use this yellow piece of label, and I got it down there, and for whatever reason, once I got it down there, I ended up with a black mark on it, and I must have had some black ink on my finger. So I'm going to swap it out, use this other yellow label, and that works fine. I don't know where the black came from, maybe from my sponge dauber that I am applying the black with. I may need to replace that. And then I'm going to go ahead and move up to this area to the left of the photo, the large photo, and work on that. I am inking everything up in Black Soot Distress ink just to kind of give it a little bit of pop. And I do that I do it on a lot of my layouts, so not uncommon for me to have my Black Soot Distress ink out. Now the inside of the frame there is open, and so I'm going to put this piece of white paper behind it, but I didn't want it plain, so I put a little bit of a mixed media rub-on top of it. I didn't worry about doing the whole thing because most of it's not going to show, so there's no need to waste your rub-on there, but that top corner, the top left corner of it does show, so I wanted to make sure that I put something in that corner so it didn't look like it was just a piece of white paper in the background. I'm liking how that's looking. It also brings a little bit of black up into that corner, even though you're not going to see a ton of it because a lot of it gets covered. You can still see some, and the black writing inside all of those circles and on all the tickets and tags ties it all together really nicely. I don't leave a ton of room for journaling. That orange ticket above the title is for some journaling, and then a little bit on that yellow label at the very bottom. If I decide I need more journaling space, I will just write with a white gel pen underneath where it says Happy Place Found directly on the layout, and I think that'll work well. But honestly, I really don't think there's going to be a huge need for it because there's not a big story to tell. It's mostly about her swim lessons and how well she did at swimming and such. So it can be said in very few words. I did trim out the edges of all three of these butterflies, actually 4 of the butterflies, because I ended up switching colors. I didn't really like the big white outline around it, so I took the time to fussy cut those, and those are going to go into each one of the embellishment areas. I do want to trim off this bottom label so that I can see exactly where my placement is going to be. And then I realized I didn't have my little circle down far enough, and again, I'm able to move it because it was on top of the rub-on, and so it wasn't completely stuck down all the way. In fact, I ended up putting more glue on it to hold it, and as soon as that dries, it'll be stuck there for good. It just takes a little extra time because that rub-on creates kind of a barrier between the two. Now I am using some of the teal labels out of my Some Assemblage Required embellishment box for February. Those are a $49 in market product, and you just get a small sampling of them in the embellishment box that MK offers over in her shop for each month. They do change. She does change out the colors, and sometimes you get photo strips instead of labels. So I thought I'd use those because I've got a lot of teal going on in here, and it just brings in a little bit of depth of color. So I'm liking how that's looking. And then I decided I needed something to go underneath that first photo because it looked like it was just, I don't know, it looked like it was a little bit plain and needed a little something down there. And rather than using a rub-on, I decided to use this Viewmaster reel. And I know I'm not going to be able to lift everything up, so I'm just using my little tiny scissors here to trim it so that I can tuck it under the edges of all of the pieces that it has to go around. And that'll leave me another piece to use somewhere else. And that wasn't really my intention. It was more so that I could didn't have to pull everything up. Going around the entire layout with a double sketchy line with my white 0.6 Arteza pen, and that's going to finish it off, you guys. Go check out what MK is doing over on her channel today. We do have some friends that are playing along on Instagram. I know Jennifer Kane is also playing along, and so is Susan L. So go and check out what everyone is doing, but check out what MK's got on her channel, since we are both using the exact same kits. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check the links to everything, including MK's channel, are all down below so that you can get to those easily and quickly. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to consider subscribing. I know there are tons of channels out there. I do appreciate the time that you guys spend watching my videos and commenting. You can comment or ask questions down below, and I will get back to you as quickly as I can. And I thank you for the time that you spend choosing my channel. I'll see you guys again soon with another video. Bye-bye.